We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Katie Billy, a customer success manager here at CodeHS. I'm a former teacher. I taught for 10 years, used CodeHS in the classroom. And then I'll let Erin Kay introduce herself.
Hi, friends. I'm Erin Kay. I'm also a customer success manager. And I was in the classroom for 7 years. I taught kindergarten.
Awesome. All right, so we will dive right in. We're going to talk about some of our awesome pro tools that are available to you on the site. So we'll be reviewing lesson plans, progress monitoring, grading and the gradebook, our new academic integrity center, and AI hints. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A through the webinar, or you can also just write them in the chat. We'll keep an eye out for them and try to answer them as we go along if we can. If not, if we have time at the end, we'll get to those as well. If you do not already have a CodeHS account, I would take a moment now to sign up for an account. You can do so by going to codehs.com/sign up. I think Leanne just put that in the chat for us as well. And when you go there, you should just create an account with your district email address, and that will get you into the site. If you do already have an account, that is great. You are ready to go. So we are going to keep going. So if you have no idea what CodeHS is, we offer a K through 12 computer science curriculum. It is online all through our website. We do have professional development available, and we have a bunch of different tools that help you to use CodeHS. You can see here we have ways for teachers to grade, see student work in real time. We are all on the web. People do not need to do any downloads or anything to access the site, which helps with turning in student work and making sure it's a really seamless process for teachers using this in the classroom. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Erin Kay.
All right. Thanks, Katie. First, we're going to talk about lesson plans. For perfect for the platform. There's two different ways for you to access the lesson plans. You can either navigate on the left-hand side. There's going to be this navy blue navigation bar, or you can click the assignments up top. When you click into a section, there will be a tab up top for you to look at assignments. There is going to be a purple button next to each lesson that'll be the lesson plan itself. So if you click into that, it'll have all the typical components of a lesson plan, the objectives, some activities, problem guides, discussion questions, really all the resources you could want for the lesson you're about to teach. And it just is nice because it just ensures that you're prepared for each lesson as you go through it. And we're going to go into just some different parts of the lesson plan itself. So this has the teaching and learning stages. So it's nice because it gives a suggested time frame. So even for these lesson openers, some activities, these are by choice, but it gives you a rough amount, estimated time for how long each activity can take. Next, you can see there's some discussion questions. Some lend themselves for the teacher looking for a solution. Others are just to get the students thinking and talking and just grow to a more of a discussion-based question. Problem guides are great. As a former teacher, I love showing teachers these problem guides. So you can see here, if you click into the lesson, there's the different assignments, and this light green button will be where you can click into to find the problem guides. Problem guides are great because at the top, it'll show the description of the assignment, the solution for the assignment, answers to commonly asked questions, And then at the very bottom, there's going to be an explain this to me video that was created by a CodeHS curriculum team member that is explaining the assignment from beginning to end. So that's really great for any of the assignments that students will be submitting work on. All right, awesome. We're going to go to progress monitoring now. When you want to view progress monitoring, you will click into your section that you want to view the student's progress, and up top there will be a navigation bar. You can see we are now clicked into the assignment progress. So this is all the students' progress through each assignment. You can see the assignments are listed up top, and there's a key that shows you what the different colors mean. So it's kind of in a heat map style. Most of your students' assignments will end in teal because that'll be their finalized progress. And then the purple, pink, green, and yellow or anything in between, and then gray is unopened. The real-time dashboard is great. So you can see the progress tab has a drop-down. We were at the first choice for the drop-down, the assignment progress, and now we're going to look into the real-time dashboard, which will show you the students' progress as they're in your classroom. So you can see Jane, Courtney, and Anna are currently working on some assignments. You can see what assignment they're working on, how long they've been working on it, and then the live feed shows you what the students are doing as they're in your classroom. So just a really great feature to kind of be seeing how students are working, but from an arm's length reach.
All right, I will jump back in. So now we're gonna start talking about grading, how to change up your settings, and also the gradebook. So up here at the top of your courses, you'll be able to click course settings and then grading settings. And that will pull up a page that looks like this. All of these are the main modules in a course. If you select this like drop-down caret, it will show you each lesson, and then you can see you even have that option for each lesson to break it down even further. And in each assignment, you can choose if you would like the auto grader to grade your assignment or if you would like to teacher grade your assignment. So our auto graders are awesome. They save you a ton of time. Students have to meet certain criteria in order to pass the assignment and move on. So that's what an auto grader is. Teacher graded, obviously, you're grading it as the teacher. One thing to note, if there is like a little I button off to the left-hand side of this spot right here, that means the assignment does not have an auto grader. So there are certain types of assignments that can't be graded by an auto grader. For example, a free response that a student writes. As of right now, we don't have the ability to have an auto grader grade that. So those assignments you will want to turn on teacher grading if you want to use them for a grade. But if it is a programming assignment, most of them will have some kind of auto grader available to you. When you're actually ready to grade anything that you have chosen to be teacher graded, you'll click this review tab at the top. And then we're going to talk specifically about fast grading. I don't even bother with regular grade mode. If you have the pro features, fast grade is where it's at. There's no reason not to use it. So with fast grade, what it does that may be different from the regular old grading is on the left-hand side is the student code. And on the right-hand side is the solution code. So you can compare the student's code to the correct answer. It's a really quick and easy way for you to check things, especially on these very simple exercises that students are doing. This is from our like Carol beginning of a course type assignment. As students get into more complex things, their code may not match exactly, which is why there is this little play button over here, which you can run the student program and see if it actually works the way you're expecting it to, if their code doesn't match up exactly. You can give students a grade just right here. You can give them full credit, you can give them partial credit, and you can actually also leave feedback for the student. So if you want to say like, hey, you missed this one aspect of the assignment, go back and double check your work, whatever that may look like, you can leave that student feedback as well. Also in FastGrade, you can see over here, there are different buttons you can click. The I will show you the student assignment. If there is a rubric for an assignment, it will be there. We just talked about running student code, so this is what that would actually look like. And then you can actually see if you click award full credit, it will just pop you right into the next student for grading purposes. So you don't have to keep reopening assignments and closing things out. You can see here providing that feedback, finalizing it. And again, it just tells you, hey, we're moving on to the next assignment. You can see if you give it 0, it looks slightly different. So that's kind of a quick little GIF of fast grading. You will also see over here on the left-hand side, you can create your own canned responses. I know when I was in the classroom, I repeated myself a lot with feedback. So I would notice I'm saying the same thing kind of over and over. So you can create a canned response and have it available to you to just copy and paste and use a little bit more easily. You can also filter your fast grade assignments. So you can filter to just see one specific class at a time if you're teaching multiple classes. If you just want to look at a specific student, you can filter by their username. You can also filter by course or by module or even assignment if you only want to grade a specific assignment. This can just be helpful to kind of narrow down the list of things you have to grade. And it will show you over here on the right-hand side how many assignments you have graded, how many more you have left to go, which can just be helpful so you know kind of where you're at in your grading process. So again, you can see here when you run student code, what it will look like. This one's nice. It's of Carol, and it'll even say, nice job, you got it. So you know, hey, I'm ready to go. The student did the right thing. So next we're going to pop into our gradebook. So at the top of your screen, you'll see a gradebook tab. You can customize your gradebook to look a bunch of different ways. So we'll be talking about some of the ways that teachers typically use to customize their assignments. So first here you can click configure. So this will provide you with some different options. So you can choose what type of assignments you want to include. For me personally, when I was teaching, I did not give them points for watching the videos or for looking at the examples. So I had those unchecked. And you can kind of pick and choose what you want to include in your students' grades. Your display settings, you can choose what you want to show up in your gradebook. You can have a flag showing up on late assignments. If you just, it puts a little like red triangle in the corner that lets you know, hey, that assignment was turned in late. You can choose if you want students to see their letter grades. You can also choose if you want students to be able to see the entire grade book. So I know I had to enter grades on another website like PowerSchool or Synergy. And so I didn't want students to be able to see their full grade report on CodeHS because if their grades didn't match up exactly, I was getting 10,000 questions on why is my grade this on CodeHS and why is it different here? So I typically didn't allow students to see their whole grade report on CodeHS. If that is unchecked, they can still see the individual assignment grades. They just can't see the full grade report. You can also set up weighted grading, penalizing students for late work. So all those things are available to you in that configure button in the gradebook. This is kind of what the gradebook will look like. This is that late flag that I was talking about. So you can see it's like a little triangle in the corner. You can see the different scores. There is a key up here with what the different colors mean. It's the same heat map style that Aaron was talking about earlier. The colors are the same throughout the site. So once you learn them, you'll know what's going on. For grading quizzes, you have a couple of options. Once you go into the quiz, you can give students the option to retake inside of their quiz. You can print the quiz. You can kind of play around with these settings as well. And then next up, we're going to talk about access controls. So Access controls change students' ability of what they can access on the site. So if you go to course settings, you can go to access controls, due date settings, or this one is just due date and access controls. So it's a combination of the two. And that's what's screenshotted over here on the left. So there are 3 different columns that I'm going to talk about that have slightly different features available. So when something is assigned, if this is turned to yes, the students can see it in the course. If it's turned to no, it's like that does not exist in the course. It becomes invisible to the students. So if you have students who get easily overwhelmed by seeing a bunch of course content, you can turn things to unassigned and assign it kind of as you go. It's up to you and how you workflow as a teacher. Similarly, but slightly different are our access controls. So this has 3 different options in the drop-down menu. If something is available, students can see it, they can work on it, they can do it. If it's put in as locked, students cannot access it, but they can still see it. So it's kind of similar to that assigned setting, except they can see it, they just cannot click into it. The other option in here will be scheduled. So let's say you knew, hey, we're starting this new module on Monday, which would be what, the 22nd. So you could set this as scheduled and set the start time to be April 22nd. And then students would be able to open it once that day and time has passed. One thing to note with the end time over here, if you do set that end time, let's say I set it for the end of that week, which would be like the 27th, it will lock students out at that time. So if you have students completing work late, they will not be able to access it. So typically, what I see most teachers do is they will set this end time for like the end of the semester or the end of the quarter when they're going to stop accepting work. That way students can kind of work on it and turn it in late if they need to throughout the quarter or semester. You can also change these settings for individual students. So what the page we were just looking at, this is for the entire class, but you can change it for individual students. So let's say Sophia was absent and you want to change her due date to be later than other students. You can go into Sophia's assignments or her access controls and change the due date just for that student. You can also change the access controls. So if you have something locked and you have a student who's just a rock star and is ready and working ahead, you can unlock modules just for that student so that they can access things that other students cannot. You can also do this from the roster page. So next to any student name, you can click this settings button and you'll be able to edit the student settings there as well. Next up, we're going to talk about block and text settings and copy paste prevention. So again, you can do this for the whole class or for individual students. So for block and text settings, if you want students to be able to use block coding, you can turn that on, again, section level or student level. One thing to note for block coding, it's only available in certain languages. So it's available in Carol, HTML, and then our coding explorations courses. So coding in art, coding in music, coding in sports. So if you are doing it, if you're teaching another language, like let's say I was teaching a Python course and I turn this on, students still will not have access to block coding because it's not available in Python. Over here, we have copy paste prevention. So this can be helpful if you have students who are maybe sharing code with one another, maybe using our new best friend ChatGPT to kind of get some ideas. So you can turn off students' ability to copy and paste inside the IDE. So you can again do this for the whole class, or you can do this for individual students. So when I was in the classroom, I would kind of let students know this is something I can do. And if it becomes a problem, I'll turn it off for you individually. And that tended to help prevent that problem from happening throughout the year. All right. Next, you can change up the quiz settings for any of your quizzes on the assignments page, and then clicking this configure button next to the quiz. and that will pull up a screen that looks like this. So you can choose if you want students' quiz questions to be shuffled. I always recommend doing that for any of our longer quizzes. It'll just make it so the student sitting next to them doesn't have the same number one as they do. So it helps just prevent any wandering eyes you may find in the classroom. You can also decide how many attempts you want to give students. So if you want them to just have one attempt at the quiz, that is the default, but you can change it if you want the ability for students to redo quizzes. And then you can choose whether or not you want students to know that if they got the question correct or incorrect immediately, and if they get to know what the correct answer is. So those are all available in that configure button. So like I just said, you can shuffle those quiz questions. And then we have a newer feature, which is our question of the day. This is available for certain courses, especially our AP courses. We find this really, really valuable for teachers. So it'll just have a concept that relates to the course, and students can complete that on their own. And then there is this dashboard that the teacher can access where they can share or just kind of view where students are. So you can see it'll show you the percentage that students got correct. So how many of your students got it correct, how many students attempted, and then these will be color coded. So I believe it's just red and green. So green if they got the question correct, red if they got it incorrect. So it's just a quick and easy way to check, you know, hey, did all the students get this one right? Oh, hey, only 10% of students got this one right. We should review this concept, that kind of thing. You can hide the Docs tab in our IDE. So the Docs tab is a great resource where students can see different documentation in the language that they are learning. But if you do not want students to be able to see the Docs tab, you can do that in section setting or in the Academic Integrity Center, which we'll go over in a few seconds. Under the settings, you can turn it off there as well. Speaking of the Academic Integrity Center, perfect little leeway into this right now. There are several different academic integrity tools. These were newly released, I want to say in November. I might have the date wrong there, but sometime in the last 6 months. So these are new. We have our CodeHS honor code, alternate exercises, and our plagiarism report, which has all of this other stuff in it. So I'm going to walk through what that looks like. So in order to access the Academic Integrity Center, on the left-hand side on your dashboard, under grading, you can go to Academic Integrity, and it will pull up this home base right here. So you can see it has a bunch of resources like our honor code, and just more information on what's actually in the Academic Integrity Center. So this is a good starting place for you. The first thing that you will pull up is our plagiarism report. So this is amazing. It will save you so much time. I wish it was around when I was in the classroom. So what this does is it will pull up we have a student assignment pulled up and we have a specific student pulled up. So on the left side, you will see the the section average. So that's about how much time each student has taken. So if you see here, time spent, they spent about 50 minutes on the assignment. And the number of snapshots that we caught of their code as they were coding was about 18 snapshots. Then we'll look at this student. So Hal 9000 is our cheater student, we like to call him. He just enjoys cheating. So you can see he only spent 1.7 minutes on it and only has one snapshot of code, which is a pretty solid reason to believe he may have copied and pasted the assignment. So down here, you can see the next part of this plagiarism report. You can see the student's code on the left and the CodeHS solution code on the right. Each comparison will have a similarity score. So you can see the similarity score is about 10%. So that's not concerning. Anything below like 75% is pretty normal. Anything above that 75%-ish range is where you start to get into that red flag territory, especially on those more complex assignments. If you're looking at something in Carroll, those are going to have pretty similar scores because typically people do those the same way. But as we get into more complex coding, you'll want to keep an eye on this. So you can see here, we're looking at the differences between the student and the CodeHS solution. You'll also see this is actually a drop-down menu. So you can actually compare a student's code to another student's code. So this can be helpful if, you know, me and Erin K are in your class and we're best friends and you're like, did they do that assignment together? Maybe share their work. You can pull up the two students next to each other and compare their assignments to kind of see if there's anything too similar. You will also get a similarity score for that. So that can be really helpful. Next tab over in our academic integrity suite is our code timeline. So you'll be able to see how long students spent on an assignment. You can see what day they worked on it. And then you can also see the different code of different students if you click on their specific assignment. Up next is the code history. So code history will just show you the different, it's almost like version history in Google Docs where you can see the different versions of the document as people work through it. Same idea, you can see the different versions of student code as they're working through the assignment. So you'll be able to kind of see the different timestamps and what they've worked on. It can also flag that there is pasted code. That can sometimes be okay depending on the assignment. So, you know, I was working on some Python this morning and I copied and pasted from my own work. So you may see some pasting sometimes with students. As long as their whole thing isn't pasted, you know, just keep an eye on it. All right, up next is probably my favorite part of our new Academic Integrity Center. It's called Code Replay. And so what this does, you can see it in this gift here. You can see each keystroke that the student is making. It's literally replaying how they did their coding. And you can see like it flags when a student pastes something in. So it's just a really easy way for you to check in on how a student's doing, how they're doing their code. Another way I think would be really cool to use this in the classroom is if you have a student solve something really creatively, you could pull up their, I mean, I would ask their permission, but pull up their code in front of the class and can be like, look at how they worked through this. And you can talk through the different steps that they are taking as well. So that's a positive way to use it instead of just focusing on cheating. You can also see time tracking in the Academic Integrity Center. So what that does for each assignment, it will show you the average section time spent on it. And then you can see the different amounts of time different students have spent on it. The color coding is again the same as those other places we've talked about on the site. You can also see the different students and how long they spent on like a bar chart. And then it's also available in a box plot, which I forgot those existed from elementary school. But it's another cool way you can kind of check for outliers or any students who, you know, were way outside what the section average is. Up next in our Academic Integrity Center is focus mode. What this does is if you turn on focus mode, you pick a specific assignment you want students to work on, and they cannot go anywhere else on CodeHS. So this helps prevent students from working ahead. This can be really good for like quizzes. If you want, you know, hey, everyone, we're going to work on this quiz for 30 minutes. You can set them in focus mode and then they will not be able to access anything else on the site. It does default to an hour of time for them to be in the focus mode, but you can always click stop when you're ready. We do that so if you forget to turn it off and a student wants to access something later in the day, it will turn off after an hour. All right, this is the history tab, which you can access if you go to more, and then there's a button that says history. So this is the same as that code history that we saw in the Academic Integrity Center. but you can access it just within the student's IDE as well. So more history, and then you can see those different timestamps that we talked about. All right, AI hints. So AI hints you can access by clicking grading and then AI. And what this does is it pulls up the assignment, the student code, and then you can ask for a AI hint. So what this does is artificial intelligence will actually write a hint based on the student's code. There are 3 different kinds of hints. There is a general hint, identify a problem, or identify a problem and offer a solution. So general hint will be just something kind of generic that fits with the problem. It may not be exactly what a student needs to help with their assignment. Identifying the problem will tell the student, hey, this is what you're missing, but it doesn't necessarily tell them how to fix it. And then obviously identify a problem and offer a solution will also provide that solution to them. You can edit these. So if you see it and you're like, this sounds like a robot, I want to edit this, you can always do that. And then you can also give feedback on whether or not the hint was actually useful. That obviously will help the AI become more intelligent and better as we continue to use it. So feel free to include that as well. All right, we are getting to the end here. So we want to show some other resources that will help you guys as you are starting on your pro journey. So we have the ability to become a CodeHS certified educator. I believe those applications are actually open right now. So that's something to keep an eye out for. We do have micro-credentials available, so if you are interested in becoming certified in any languages, that is something available on the site. We do have a Facebook group for CodeHS educators, so you can see what other teachers are doing, how they're using CodeHS. There's a lot of really cool things going on in there, so definitely recommend checking that out. And then we are on social media at CodeHS. We have an awesome social media manager who's making some very cool videos. So definitely recommend checking that out as well. If you have a moment, we would love for you to fill out a workshop survey just based on today's webinar. If you go to codehs.com/workshop survey, you can fill that out. It should only take a minute. Couple of last minute things. We do have some more free webinars coming up in the next few weeks. And then over the summer, our PD team runs some amazing webinars. And those will be kind of coming out in the next couple of weeks, I believe. So definitely keep an eye on codehs.com/free PD as those are getting released. If you do have any questions or if you need any help, our support team is amazing. There is a little chat bubble in the bottom right-hand corner of the site, and you can always send us a message there. They are real people. They are not robots, and they will respond and help with anything you need. I was on a school visit this morning, and we were running into some issues with a student's code. We couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and we sent it into our support team. We just sent them a link to his assignment, and they debugged it in like 5 minutes, when that probably would have taken me an hour looking at the code. He just forgot an S somewhere, something super silly. But they caught it super quickly and were able to help. So that's a great way to use support. And if you have any general questions about how to use the site, how to use grading, anything like that, great spot to reach out to. If you don't want to use the chat feature on the site, you can also just send them an email. Their email is support@codehs.com. And then the teacher forum is linked here if you are interested in joining that as well. If you are interested in purchasing Pro for next year, part of Pro is all of these features. Another thing that you get is a customer success manager. So Erin Kay and I work with a ton of different schools and districts, and we help support their implementation. So you can always go to codehs.com/learn more if that is something you are interested in for next year. All right, I'm going to look at the Q&A because we have a couple minutes. And it looks like Leanne has been answering questions. Thank you, Leanne. Oh, good question about the mass grade. Code replay. Sometimes the timeline feature jumps and it's very hard to follow. Okay. Sometimes the time bar. The paste is when they do copy and paste into their program. So that, as Leanne said, that's, you know, a spot where you'll want to check out what was going on. Leanne's answered all of these questions. She's just a rock star. Okay, great. If anyone does have any other questions, feel free to pop those into the chat or into Q&A. Otherwise, we will let you go. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.